Damn, son.
Where'd you find this? Oh, sorry, that's a meme.
When did you start your battle crap career, Michael?
I thought you were
5 seconds ago.
Thought you were doing a what are you doing here, step bro?
No, it's a different meme. Damn, son, where'd you find this? It's a
I'm sure that the 2 Redditors that listen to this podcast are just riotously cackling to themselves right now at your glib witticism.
Michael, do you jerk it to virgin porn where they're like, I just need virgin balls? Is that your thing?
What?
No.
Why? Is that a thing?
No reason. I wouldn't know.
It sounds like you're projecting a little bit, but that's just me.
Oh, you need me to talk louder?
It sounds like you're projecting a bit, but that's just me.
Well, this is the last episode of the Disinformed podcast, and thank you all for being here. It's been a lovely run.
Zippity zoop.
8 seasons in a movie.
Not even close.
Yeah. We don't even get a major motion picture. It's just a sitcom, baby. Actually, technically, this is the Cancel Me Daddy podcast officially at this point, I believe. So, congratulations.
That'd be great.
Ooh.
Race to see who can get canceled first.
I don't think it's a race. It's Shane.
No question. If they're handing that award out, I'm afraid that I have it already granted to me. I'm an emeritus asshole.
Yep. I do think, though, that it would be really
tenure.
funny for Michael to accidentally cancel himself.
Oh yeah, if I'm canceled, it's for something stupid that I did on accident.
It's like I have it more like in my head that like you're searching Twitter profiles to cancel them over like dumb tweets, and then you have your own dumb tweet that you stumble upon, but you don't realize it's yours.
Like, who's this douchebag? Sounds like he should be canceled.
And then you blow it up and you get canceled, and then you're like, oh my god, that was actually me.
And people are all like, why is he retweeting his old tweet and saying to cancel himself?
Because no one paid attention the first time. And speaking of things that don't get better with age, hi, come slingers, and welcome to another stirring installment of the Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm John.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
And yet again, we have another illustrious appearance from our glorious indentured servant of artwork. That is the bad artist, Jessie. Welcome back, lady friend.
Hi there.
Yay!
I am working on Courtney's art of Henry Cavill defiling her.
Nice.
I don't know what to say to
Wait,
that.
Be careful when you start working around the front, Henry.
It might take me a long time because anatomy is new to me, and I need to capture Henry's glorious
amazing
body.
jawline. Just
I'm so sorry that
I mean,
the
so
anatomy's
chiseled.
foreign to you. It's
Wow,
bad
Courtney, you can
times.
handle that?
Yeah, keep going. I think the only appropriate way to do that would be to make him in all his glory and then draw me as a stick figure. Because I've always wanted to be skinny, and because next to him I would look just hideous. So,
Aw.
Nice.
That suddenly got really sad.
Not unless you actually imagine a literal stick figure. Like, there's this, like, intimately drawn portrait of Henry Cavill and then a literal stick figure.
yes, that's exactly what I mean.
I thought it was hilarious until she explained why, and now I'm sad.
Joke is on all you fools. I actually have a parachute, so if you want to crash this plane, I'm happy to watch it go down.
Well, we have Jessie back because she wanted to present a topic, and
Indeed. For those of us who are blissfully ignorant about Dungeons and Dragons, Jess is here to alleviate our lack of info, as it were. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with our show, we occasionally delve into random esoteric topics and we lie about them to one another. That is the shtick. It is always engaging and entertaining. And now we are going to bring, admittedly, a neophyte into our midst, but I believe that she is up to the task because she has heard every disgusting episode of this show. So I feel like Jess is very well prepared for this, and I didn't bury the lead, so we're going to get into a little D&D action this evening, and not the type that involves bondage wear, unfortunately.
Oh,
Sadly.
shucks.
Yes, the TikTok algorithm is very confused as to what type of dungeon master I'm into. So
Oh. unfortunate.
Oh, do tell.
Oh no.
I do. I get D&D TikTok and
BDSM.
kink BDSM TikTok.
Who are you gonna call? My boss.
Michael, I'm gonna need you to clip that.
Okay.
If you want to hear me with a ball gag, my friend, there are far more inventive and entertaining ways in order to do so.
You and I are gonna be in the studio next week. I think we can make it happen.
Yeah, if you get Dan riled up enough, I will happily throw myself on the sword there.
I'll put a good effort.
Our producer is almost as stunning as Henry Cavill, in my
Almost.
estimation. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a very fetching man. I'm on the
Ooh.
record about this. I was recorded saying very much the same thing fairly recently, so he knows full well I would jump his bones.
So I get to come and sit in the studio and stare at him, right? Because you guys will be in my hood.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think anybody'd argue.
Not one bit.
It's like don't pay attention to the girl in the corner. She's fine.
It's like that
Why?
Doctor Who episode, Don't Blink.
hmm
Why does it sound like it's raining in here? It sounds like someone's stirring a pot of spaghetti very aggressively. It's getting on the takes. Can you guys just give us a moment? Like, oh, she's almost
These
done.
mics
Just hold
are
on.
sensitive.
I do have to give you a warning, though, that I am in mourning at this time. I got the text last night that every D&D player dreads my session this weekend has been canceled.
Oh
No.
no.
And I cried myself to sleep a little. So
That's fair.
Are we back to talking about bondage, or?
Yeah, which
Yes,
kind
actually.
of dungeon?
Both and neither.
Yeah, we were supposed to have a wild time. I got out the swing. We just installed it. It was cool.
And then he said there was no way.
No, we were supposed to have a session at my house. It was supposed to be session 9 for our campaign of Curse of Strahd.
I am fucking awake! Not sure anybody catches that reference, but
I'm sure
you're
Superfan Michael will.
welcome. Here hopes.
I love how you guys are joking about sex swings in D&D, but the only time that I ever played D&D was at a friend's house who decided they needed to show us where they put their sex swing. And, like, it's funny because that's now their baby's playroom.
Oh, no.
The baby uses the sex swing as like a.
Oh my
you know,
god!
I've never asked, but it wouldn't,
That's
be
fair. It's
that
probably
much
best
of a
not to know.
surprise. Yeah.
No, they just wanted the baby to understand its own secret origins.
This is your origin story.
So you create
It's
a
like-
super baby villain.
Yeah,
Look
it's
at
like
what
the
made you.
ship that brought Superman to this planet. Here's the sex swing.
Yeah.
We found you in it, in a blanket.
And we've never cleaned it once.
So this gimp suit has been with you your entire life. Your father was wearing it when you were conceived.
Oh, no.
Well,
Ew, what did I just touch? Oh, those are your brothers and sisters.
you could say you have a pretty big family.
Mm-mm. I did find it very hard to lie about Dungeons and Dragons. I like it a lot, and so I'm just like, how am I gonna lie about this? But I do have 7 lies for you this evening.
Okay.
Oh, well, we didn't go with 6. Now I'm already offended.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend anyone.
It's not a rule. I mean,
You're gonna do
I'm
great.
so
Everyone's
sorry.
gonna love you.
You're doing fantastic.
So
you're the
7
best. You're the best at this.
I'm not. But I will say again, because we did learn last week that Michael did play Dungeons and Dragons. If he does not catch all of my lies, he's fired.
He's a fake fan. That's what that means.
Ha!
He's
You
a
won't
fucking-
fire me. You don't want anyone else to edit this shit.
Hashtag cancel me, daddy.
Oh, that's his lane now. He's just gonna hashtag say things and hope that it doesn't happen.
Cancel me, daddy.
But
Hashtag give me my doctorate.
never. I will become a fully fledged dungeon master before Michael gets his doctorate.
That
She'll
long,
have her
huh?
own actual sex dungeon as a separate business.
She'll have
long
both dungeons figured out.
Yes.
Whips,
She'll have a
whistles, chains,
PhD.
yo-yos. Yes.
In,
She'll- yeah.
those
in
things.
domineering. So
But I hope this is a lot of fun for you guys because it was fun for me. I learned some stuff about D&D I did not know before.
Ooh.
And so we'll just jump right into it. For those who are uninitiated into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, it is a storytelling game. Basically, you and your friends are co-oping this story together and guiding your heroes through quests for treasure, battles with deadly foes, sometimes dragons, but not always, There's daring rescues, courtly intrigue, and so much more.
Ooh.
It's fun. It was originally created by Sean Fitzpatrick and Gary Gergich and first published in 1973.
Gary
And
Gerge?
Gary
thought-
Gergich.
Oh,
Bless
wasn't
you.
there a Gary Gygax in there, or was he more advanced D&D?
Gygax, I hardly know him.
You did in fact catch my first lie. So yeah.
Wow.
Dear fucking Christ.
It's a cold day in hell today,
Well,
boys.
You know,
The only
you know
reason why I remember him so vividly is because he passed away a couple of years ago.
I used
and
to
he was like
fap
the
to
father.
his pictures, and he
He-
was my favorite.
He was a
of all
beautiful
of the
man, and how
creators.
dare you impugn his honor by saying I fapped to him?
If it makes you guys feel better, he did only catch half of the lie.
Oh, I don't remember the other person.
Oh, we
I
don't give
think that
half credit
person's
here,
still
so he
alive.
didn't get anything.
Okay.
Furthermore, not his proudest fap.
Never is.
Um,
So were both of the names bullshit?
Yes, both the names
Okay.
were bullshit.
Okay.
It's Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson
Oh.
are the original creators. So
Gotcha.
first published in 1973 by Tactical Studies Rules, which is a publishing company they both started because, lo and behold, in the 1970s, nobody wanted to publish this game for nerds, so they straight Thanos and said, well, I'll do it myself. And that's how they got to publishing this game. It has been published by Wizards of the Coast since 1997. I will get into how that happened later. Some drama.
Bitches be tripping.
So the world of D&D is not just this tabletop role-playing game. It has expanded into novels. Michael showed us his collection last week. Lots of books he's got back there.
I'm still trying to forget, thank you.
Yeah, it was really alarming how quick he was like, oh, I think I actually have 17 of them right here, right behind me.
Yep, just
I
pulled
got
them right off the shelf.
3 that are visible right there, and then most of them are visible down here or underneath.
You have to
I've
twist his-
highlighted passages with my special wand.
I was going to say, you have to
No,
twist
I
his-
don't mark books. I don't touch books like that. No.
You have to twist his
They're
fucking arm
sacred.
to get him to watch any movie that's come out in the last 5 years, but he has 100,000 novels from
Yeah,
D&D.
because I purchased them years ago when I had free time. Now I don't have free time.
In this economy.
Wait,
Exactly-
people buy books to
exactly.
read them? I
Well,
thought this
Courtney
was
just-
before.
Yeah,
I mean,
decorations.
some of these are for decoration.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Wow.
And Courtney, some of the books that we buy are just for fapping.
Well, that's the swimsuit edition, but that's neither here nor there.
There are also D&D board games as well as video games. So there are many ways you can get your D&D fix.
Like Miss Orktober.
Yes. Just like that.
I'd buy that if that was a legitimate thing.
I'm not
Guys,
shocked.
Do you think I have what it takes to become this year's Miss Orktober?
With enough gumption, anything's possible.
Did you say gumption?
Gumption. Jesus Christ.
Since it was first published in 1973, there have been 10 editions of D&D. The third edition did introduce the D20 system.
That's all bullshit because we're currently in the 5th edition.
You are wrong, sir.
Really?
Count them
Are you wait?
out
Okay,
for
all right.
you.
So, are we gonna get into a discussion of whether 3rd edition is different than 3.5 edition? Is
Nope.
different from 3.5 edited
Michael,
or something like that?
This is
or...
not your episode. I'm going to need you to stop trying to make it uninteresting.
I will count them for you. There is the original published in 1973. In 1977, the basic set first edition was published. 1977, also advanced D&D. 1981, basic set second version. 1983, basic set third. 1989, advanced D&D second edition. 2000 is when third edition came out. 2003 was 3.5, 2008 fourth edition, and in 2014 fifth. That is 10, motherfucker.
Okay, so it's like Kingdom Hearts counting, where Kingdom Hearts 3 is like the actual 12th game, and
Yes.
you got Kingdom Hearts 355 over 2 plus 3.x remix.
I'm going to be real. The
Final
reason
prologue.
The reason I stopped playing Kingdom Hearts is because I didn't know where to continue.
That's fair. I had to look it up.
I was like, I'm not
So-
going to go get 17 game platforms just to finish the series.
And most of them are trash.
That's
I'm
what I've
sorry, I'm
heard.
just saying it.
Yes.
Unless you like a deck building card game that you play in real time to fight with, no.
Like Magic?
No, Magic is way better than Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. I'm
There's-
just saying that.
I won't
There's
disagree
just-
with you.
There has got to be a sharp object in here.
I do.
I mean, you have a lot of paper. You can try and give yourself a paper.
I'm not gonna Victor Zaz my way out of this life, Michael. I'm not a 13-year-old goth girl who writes fan fiction about Harry Potter.
Yet.
Aw, shucks.
Oh no.
Anyway,
Back to-
10 editions.
Back to the D&D.
It sounds so sinister and sexy.
Back to the D&D.
I guess
Don't
I'm
ever do that again.
Also, clip that.
gonna do it all the time. It is a cooperative storytelling game. At the helm, there is the dungeon master or game master. It depends on what you feel like being called, I guess. They serve as the game's referee and storyteller while maintaining the setting in which all these adventures occur and playing the role of all the inhabitants of this world.
Bullshit. We actually call those people daddy.
I mean, you
In your
can.
campaign, you
I was
can.
gonna say, if and they so choose, Daddy.
Yeah, if
Daddy
they start
Master.
off, yeah.
We'll
Cancel me,
circle
Daddy
back
Master.
Around to Daddy Master in a minute.
Dungeons and Daddies.
Back on your
Yes.
TikTok frame again.
And Courtney
Uh-oh.
just got us the name of the episode. Thank you.
I don't know if we can take that name though.
Dungeons and Daddies.
We'll-
Call
we'll-
the
Oh, we
episode
will
that.
definitely. Who's gonna copyright us? No one knows we exist.
We all
the
know that nerds don't know how to
actual
fight.
podcast Dungeons and Daddies will.
Well, if they're listening to this, we love you very
Okay.
much, and I've never heard you, but I
We
want
can
to.
call it the
Maybe.
knockoff. The I
Sometime.
can't believe it's not Dungeons and Daddies.
Hey, Michael.
There we go.
It's called satire.
Yes.
Get ready.
Oh.
I'm doing a preemptive for you.
Oh,
Call it Dungeons and... And we'll get Michael back into his normal lane.
no. Okay.
All right.
You should just bleep it all. You should just go. Let's just call it Dungeons and.
Yep.
Just rapid fire. Just
Yes.
speed it up so it.
Give the streets what it wants.
The
I can do
other-
like the old school Ric Flair, like, woo!
Yes.
There you go.
And the other players form what is called the party. And so they work together to solve dilemmas, engage in battle. You can level through experience points. There is also a milestone leveling system. So if your dungeon master so chooses, you do not have to gain experience points to level. You can do milestones. So based on like how you've progressed in the story, you'll level from there.
So you
I
can join
find
the
that-
Mile High Club.
Yes. I am in the Mile High Club, actually. That is how we are leveling.
I'm
Okay.
intrigued.
Nice.
Go on.
Nice.
Congrats.
Thank you. We discussed dice earlier, but before the show, polyhedral dice are used to solve the in-game events and put people into debt. Dice collecting is not cheap.
It is not.
I myself have over 30 sets of dice.
Oh shit!
Well,
Impressive.
Yeah,
I
that would
have
be my
two.
brother.
I'm gonna go ahead
Very
and just-
similarly structured.
I'll plug this and say that you should send some of those pictures over to Courtney or just over to me, and we'll send it along, and we'll show that on the Instagrams.
All of my dice.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have about 30 sets last time I counted, not including all of the loose dice, because a few times I did purchase the pound of dice bags from Chessex, trying to find the very rare Borealis ones. They have special glitter.
I will say that the dice that you're letting me use is really pretty.
Yes, these are Kraken dice.
I don't
I
think you're
love
supposed to
them.
say that anymore.
What's cracking?
Crack-a-lackin'.
But a standard set contains 6 dice, a d20, d12, d10, d8, d6, and d4. Some of those are used for damage. The d20 is what you roll to determine whether you succeed or fail. I believe up until 3rd edition, they were using the d10 system.
Is
I-
that true?
Yeah.
Huh.
Some
I
systems
never
still use
played
it.
1st or 2nd edition, so I wasn't. I just assumed, which was again, making an ass. So
Yeah, some systems still use the D10 system, like Call of Cthulhu.
Mhm.
That one's a fun one to play. You use D10s. but a full set of dice has 12. So there's 2 d20s for advantage and disadvantage, a d12, d10, a percentile dice, d8, 4d6 for rolling character stats, a d4, and a d2, which is just a coin. So if you want to like get an idea of my dice collection, I have standard sets, I have full sets, I also have sets that contain 2 extra d20s, so there's actually 14 dice in the set. It's a big chunky boy d20 and then an itty bitty mini d20. So I have hundreds of dice.
I feel like it's interesting hearing about like different people's passions and like how you accumulate things based on that. Like, because what I'm liking that too is when I tell Shane like, hey, I bought this new pedal, and Shane and both Shane and my wife, which they're usually the same people, they're like,
Easy.
like, why did you get another one? I was like, because it makes this sound. Well, the other one makes this sound. Yeah, but this one makes this sound slightly different.
That's me and Jason, because every time I get a package, she's like, is it dice? I say, maybe. It's like, you have hundreds of dice. I'm like, yeah, but I don't have dice that are this color. Or these are limited
True.
edition. You can't, there's limited sets. It'll be worth money. The dice collecting game is pretty intense. Like, people get real serious about it. I could probably talk forever about that too. But that's a whole nother thing.
Part 2.
Yeah. D&D has had its share of controversy, though. We mentioned the creators, Dave and Gary, over there. I'm not going to say their last names because they're both weird. They did have a lawsuit between them over royalties at one point. Gary did sell his ownership in the company in 1985 and spent the better part of the next decade in legal disputes with the publishing company he helped create, TSR, as they would attempt to stop him from creating competing RPGs. And now we get into the downfall of TSR. Under the new management, they engaged in some extremely questionable business practices, and it just all went down in the hill. In the early 90s, they began to experiment with like CD-ROM games, games with videotapes, all that fun stuff. It was cool at the time, but also at the time it was not a cost-effective thing to do. It was very expensive. They ended up finding out a unique but ultimately unsound way to go about funding this. Random House was actually their distributor at the time. And they worked out an agreement where Random House would pay TSR for the product, not when it was sold in bookstores, but when it arrived at Random House's warehouse. Therefore, TSR could ship a lot of product, and Random House paid them for it. They could return the product to TSR at any time for a refund, but when sales were good, it wasn't a problem. They did use that money to finance things like a CD-ROM version of the D&D rules. However, this structure did lead to overprinting, and TSR was failing to pay their printer. Because of the extreme amount of debt that they owed their printer, they ended up signing a contract agreement with them to only use them for their printing. And because of this, the printer had a monopoly on them, used this to their advantage, and started increasing the prices of their printing just over and over and over. And in 1996, it just all blew up. Random House finally returned millions of dollars worth of product to TSR. The printer said that they weren't going to print anymore until they got all of their backlog of debt from them that was owed. TSR did fire 30 employees right before Christmas. It was bad.
They should have rolled higher.
It sounds like they rolled a crit fail.
They absolutely did.
Well, if the crit don't fit.
So, after their printer announced in the new year that they wouldn't publish any more of TSR's product until they received payment, like, everyone knew they were going down. But in swooped in Wizards of the Coast, who are the creators of Magic the Gathering. They had massive success, are still massively successful. A lot of people play Magic and spend a lot of money on cardboard. I've tried playing it. I don't understand it. I'll never be good at it. But that's fine because they bought TSR and the publishing rights to D&D and saved the game that I have come to know and love so well. So I love Magic even though I don't play it.
Okay.
Thank you, Wizards of the Coast.
And we're actually sponsored this week by Wizards of the Coast. They sell more than just wow, Jesus Christ. I
Yeah.
wish I could cut that, but no one will let me. Wizards of the Coast sells more than just Magic the Gathering cards. They also sell, as far as I'm aware, Pokemon and other card games such as Digimon and other popular card games. So if you're interested in any of those, stop on by any grocery store, except for I think Walmart isn't carrying them, or they weren't carrying them for a time
'Cause
because
the
people are fighting over them. But buy
Target
them
is sold
today.
out.
Yeah.
They
Wizards of the
also,
Coast.
from my understanding, they do market slave boys from any number of Southeast Asian countries as well. So you can get those wherever, aggressive human trafficking is taking place.
Yeah, and you get a collector's card along with it.
But only on the coasts.
No, only on the
Hashtags-
coast.
Hashtag
Yeah.
cancel me, daddy.
They're not having it in the Bible Belt, unfortunately, which is the one place that really should be unbuckled the most, I find.
True that. Anyway, thank you for this ad break.
It gets better. D&D was subject to the good old satanic panic of the 1980s, and it was falsely linked to Satanism and suicide and witchcraft, all that fun stuff.
Sorry, I was laughing because just watching Michael die inside after he realized that his ad break fucking flopped.
That bit was so shit. I'm sorry. I wanted to try
I
and
know
do
it's a little
something
harder to see from
funny.
back there, but he literally he sunk in his chair. Like he went from being like five inches on the screen to 3 inches on the screen because he just slid down his chair.
That was so shit. I'm
It'll
sorry.
be on
all
TikTok next week
listeners.
if anybody wants to see it.
Oh, I fucking
Please.
hope so.
I hope it gets views because
Nobody
was
wants to see you,
trash.
Michael. It's proven.
No, as the last 2 TikToks have shown, no one gives a shit about me. So that's proof.
Anyway, sorry, Jess. Satanic
Yes.
Panic.
Yeah, satanic
Which
panic.
makes perfect sense for people to get all bent out of shape because they thought they were summoning fucking demons in the basement.
Absolutely. Beholders, behemoths,
Behold.
succubus, all that.
Mm.
You can get 'em all in the world of D&D.
this podcast?
Despite the controversy and the fact that D&D almost was no more because of TSR's terrible management, it was estimated that in 2014 there was about 12 to 15 million players worldwide.
Are we calling bullshit on number lies?
I think we should call bullshit on everything.
Yeah, let's call bullshit.
I'm calling bullshit on the 14 million players.
In 2014, it was estimated that the game had 12 to 15 million players, but not worldwide. That was in North America alone.
partial credit.
I wouldn't have given me credit for that. So bless you
She's-
for being a more benevolent dungeon master than I as a
Kinder,
presenter.
gentler.
I mean, it's not hard to be kindler and gentler than me. I'm like $5 toilet paper. I don't take shit off anybody.
I mean, you're sniffing around the right place, so...
Just like the toilet paper.
Yeah.
Indeed, I am a sexy wizard.
But I think it has so many players because it is very customizable. There's a lot of things that you can do. The Player's Handbook, the 2018 printing of it anyway, has 9 races and 12 classes, including subclasses that you can play for characters. Other source materials expand on the available races and classes, as well as introduce new subclasses that aren't in the Player's Handbook. For example, my character that I'm playing currently is a changeling as their race. It was first introduced in the Eberron campaign setting in 2004, so 3rd edition, about 3.5, somewhere in there. And my class and subclass is a shadow sorcerer. It was introduced in Xanathar's Guide to Everything in 2017. So there is a lot of ways that you can play a character. No two characters are alike.
I know what she's talking about, Shane. I just didn't want to say, oh, yes, I know what book you're talking about.
Hype man Slimy over here, just head bobbing like the world's worst Wayne impersonation.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm excited because I actually know the thing she's talking about.
This is
Okay.
why we wanted to do this episode, is because of last week when we ended and we were off air and she started bringing it up because it is something that she's passionate about on a week-to-week basis. You guys just hit it off, and then the rest of us were just sitting in the corner just going, Are they gonna whip it out? Are they gonna whip out their preciouses? Is that the joke?
I mean, I did talk about my gnome warlock or halfling warlock for a couple minutes there, so
So,
I guess
John,
that's fair.
what you're trying to say is that she backed the wrong pony.
No, I'm saying she's backing the right pony because there has to be one listener out there that did like heavy water, and I feel like at very least Michael getting a topic that he connects to is important, and
I
think
agree.
D&D's fun.
Yes, equal representation under the law. That's important.
Here's a pity
I'm
topic, you fucker.
Not gonna argue. This is far from a pity topic.
No,
this
I
is
know,
something that
I'm
Jess
not-
is exceedingly
yeah.
ardently
Wow,
enthusiastic
That's not what I-
about.
Jeez, that's not. Oh my
Jess,
god.
Way to shame the co-host for sharing your passions.
So before we were rolling and we were doing the sound check, and we showed the Mr. Sandman alternate take that Jess and I did, where he's talking shit about Michael. She goes, "I just don't feel like I know him well enough to be mean to him." Now you do.
You don't
Be
need
as mean as
to.
you want.
You
don't
just
need
got
to know me
initiated
at all.
today.
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck you, Michael.
Yeah.
It's what sustains me. The random apathetic anger, I guess? And just the general apathy.
No, I
Apathetic
think what you're
hatred.
saying is stank. It's what's for dinner.
Yeah. There
Moving
you go.
on. Yes,
Yes,
Jess,
sorry.
please continue.
Even with the source material available, many DMs and players decide to enter the world of homebrewing, which I did talk to Becky a little bit about downstairs before we started, and she kind of got what I was saying. It was cool.
Okay, once more again though. What was the word?
Homebrew.
Okay, I was like a chambray work shirt over here, just trying to make sense of what's happening here.
So no game of D&D can be played the same. Everyone's going to do it their own way, and people bake in their own rules or things they want to add. You can just let your imagination run wild.
Is it kind of like beer pong rules?
Yes,
Like
there
it
are
varies
house
house to
Yeah,
house?
there are house rules and stuff like that depending on whoever's hosting it. I
Man,
would
I'm
say.
just a babe in the woods on this episode.
I love it.
Beer
because-
pong
I know
is
what
a
it feels like
game
to be
that-
Michael. I don't understand any of your references.
Oh,
And
So-
I
so-
can bring it home
beer
for you, Shane.
pong.
the difficulty is that I refuse to be condescended to, so you can just shut your fucking mouth right now and we'll move on.
I can bring it home for you. This is like if Michael's Twitch plays Pokemon or whatever was interesting.
That's impossible.
No, I thought you were going to say if I ever cared to partake in a pastime for people who can't actually conjure up interesting conversation and have to entertain themselves with libation in order to have a good time.
Oh, off the
That's
beer
what you
pong
were going
table.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where-
yeah.
that's where-
No.
But no. Anyway, you can make your own rules.
You can.
Yeah, there's house rules.
And I was telling Becky
Yeah.
about it because, Albus is a beautiful pug, but someone homebrewed a warlock patron of Noodle the pug. And there's Bones Day and No Bones Day spells. It's very
Love it.
intricate. He has his own character sheet. So if you're out there, look up Noodle's warlock patron and you can get those stats and, devote yourself and get your magical powers from Noodle.
As we
Nice.
all should.
Mm-hmm.
And it's extreme customization. You can play the game however the hell you want. And speaking of homebrew, we are going to now dive into some of my favorite homebrew material as well.
Ooh.
So, I feel like with quarantine, D&D session streams got really popular. People moved their games online because we couldn't be in the same rooms together, and they're like, we're already here, we might as well stream. And I feel like that was really cool and just introduces people to the world of D&D, and I really attribute that, and many do, to the massive powerhouse that is now Critical Role. We will talk about them because they are huge. Most of the time, if you say Dungeons and Dragons, people will be like, oh, like Critical Role. So Critical Role is a bunch of nerdy ass voice actors. Some of them have been, I think pretty much all of them have actually voiced characters in games that I've played. Matt Mercer is the DM. He actually voices the cowboy formerly known as McCree in Overwatch. He also voiced some characters in the Fallout series. I think he was in Call of Duty. He does a lot of stuff for Blizzard. He was in WoW as well. But he did homebrew the World of Exandria for a one-shot that was based on a simplified version of D&D 4E for Ashley Johnson's birthday. Ashley Johnson is another voice actor, and she actually has done some TV work too.
She Last of Us?
She is. She's Ellie. So it was for her birthday. Other people in their little friend group and other notable voice actors, Marisha Ray, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, also a Last of Us alum, played probably the most hated character in the series.
Abby?
Yep. Got a lot of hate for it, undeserved, because
Agreed.
she was awesome. Liam O'Brien, Orion Abaca, I fuck up his name every time, I'm sorry, Orion, if you ever hear this. Sam Riegel, and Taliesin Jaffe. So you've probably seen them in things. The group enjoyed playing this one-shot so much that they actually continued in the Pathfinder system, which is a revised version of D&D 3rd edition.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What does that mean?
So, do you know the story behind Pathfinder? Where it came from? Hello, editor here. The following story that I'm recounting was something that I had heard when it originally occurred, but it was completely incorrect. The whole reason for the creation of Pathfinder actually came from Wizards of the Coast not renewing a contract for the publishing company that published the Dungeons & Dragons magazines, which is where the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game came from, and so instead they created Pathfinder. So what I'm about to recount in the actual episode was what I had thought I heard when D&D 4th edition was initially announced. So essentially, when Wizards of the Coast decided to go to 4th edition, they pretty much fired, and this is what I recall happened when 4th edition came out. Essentially, they fired everyone that was there working on 3.5 or 3rd edition, and hired a whole new set of people to do 4th edition, which was why it's not really considered the best. A lot of people don't like it because it's so simplistic. But the people that were fired, said, fuck them, we're going to create our own studio and they called it Pathfinder. So that's kind of where Pathfinder is, and that's why it's considered a continuation of 3.5 edition, because it was from the people that pretty much developed it.
And like connecting it to something that is that kind of like how Left 4 Dead, like the team behind that, like they kind of got axed or the studio fell apart, but they still loved the franchise so much that's why Back 4 Blood just got released a few weeks ago, because they went to a new studio to continue what they'd already started, essentially.
Yeah, I would say that that's pretty similar.
Or
pretty good connection.
For Courtney and I and superfan Steven, they're Lutherans.
Well done.
Nice. That is very good.
They did play in the Pathfinder system for almost 2 years, though, before being approached by Felicia Day, who heard through the grapevine, word of mouth, talking to Ashley Johnson and others, that found out that these voice actors were playing D&D. She's like, hey, you guys should start streaming on my channel. She actually started the Geek and Sundry Twitch channel. And so that is where they got their start. They started streaming in March 2015. To streamline it for a live audience, they did switch over to the D&D 5e system. Combat is much more simplified, and the rules are just overall for the game. I have played in the Pathfinder system before. It is complicated. I like 5e better. But yeah, just to make it combat flow easier for live.
It's easier to understand and everything, yeah. For viewers.
So, are you also going to talk about Harmon Quest?
No.
I was just thinking about that.
I wasn't going to bring up Harmon Quest, but I was going to talk about Community.
Okay, fair enough.
Beautiful.
Ooh, I have something for that. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Connections, yes.
Like anything that's popular, Critical Role is not free of controversy or drama.
Of course.
Orion, he played Tiberius Stormwind in the campaign. He was actually kicked off the show after 27 episodes after a fight between him and Marisha Ray. Marisha Ray and Matt Mercer were dating at the time. They are now married. Generally, it's not a good idea to fight with the DM's significant other. Just bad move. There were complaints of him fudging dice rolls, togging time. He did a lot of what they refer to as retconning. So you say you're going to do all this shit, you find out it's not going to work, and like, oh, never mind, I'm not going to do that. He was very, like, what's the word I'm looking for? he didn't like
Not a team player, it sounds like.
not a team player at all. They went into this really bad fight with a beholder. He's like, I'm not going in there, and his character sat outside the whole time. Yeah, doing shit like that. He was kind of toxic. Made some inappropriate jokes towards Laura Bailey. It was bad. So he was kicked off campaign 1 after 27 episodes, after playing with them for like 2 years.
Did they kill off his character in like a hilariously embarrassing way or something like that?
They did kill off of his character, but not in an embarrassing way, and
Aw.
not until much later in campaign 1. He was killed off about episode 70 or so. He wasn't like around in the story. They made mention of him sometimes, but his character wasn't active in the story and up until his death. So
see, though, that group is too nice. Like, if someone leaves like that, like, you gotta kill the character in a catty, like, vengeful way. Just make their character like trip on their own shit and like die or something. I don't know.
There's a question that is not to like totally tangent here, but like, is there a weird subculture of kind of toxic masculinity that exists in this? Because I mean, when you have a society based around a gaming system developed by a couple of antisocial men, from what it seems like just from experience, is this something that you think like was really prevalent until fairly recently, or? Because it seems like something that a bunch of guys do sitting around a table eating Doritos and slamming Dr. Pepper. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel like something that was inclusive with women initially.
It wasn't. And kind of still not. If you're on D&D TikTok, you hear a lot of female DMs talking about it and other female players and having experienced some really toxic situations. So it's not gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it's one of those things like you imagine that anytime you introduce like a female into that group, it's something that everybody tends to just strangely latch onto in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So then if they actually do couple up and pair off, that's going to breed some strange resentment. And, when you don't have proof of ownership, is all too often asked for these days, everybody starts getting their hackles up. So it's interesting to think about that manifesting itself even with celebrities in situations like this.
Yeah, I would definitely say from prior experience, from prior groups, that you don't ever want people dating within the group. It's kind of the same thing with like coworkers and stuff. Like, once you start changing the dynamic, then it can breed like toxicity or just overall bad feelings, especially if it turns into a bad breakup, because then now the group could potentially fall apart.
There's a fracture.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
it's intimate. You see these people all the time.
Yeah.
It's the Ono effect, as we call it.
I play with a married couple.
Is it which dungeon?
the sex dungeon,
the one with dragons.
Exactly.
And you say the wife constantly gets drunk and ruins the game for everybody else playing. Is this the couple I'm thinking of?
No, it's not.
That's unfortunate.
The couple you are thinking of, I have not had the opportunity to play with. No, the couple that I play with, my DM I used to work with, and then it's his wife.
Anywho, sorry,
Back
didn't
to
mean to
Critical
derail,
Role.
but in the course of that conversation was something that I feel like was an interesting point to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So-
it's definitely a good thing to bring up because of just the history of it, and especially given that it has, for the longest time up until this past decade, been considered to be like a very nerdy, antisocial sort of activity to do with people.
Which I will
So.
have to send you guys pictures of the cast of Critical Role, because they are all sexy motherfuckers.
Well, I
Like,
know
goddamn.
Felicity for sure. Well, is she?
I wasn't attempting to cast aspersions at people who enjoy the game, as just saying that this is kind of the
Yeah.
archetypal what people think of when you say Dungeons and Dragons is
Yeah.
people in like sweatpants and a bad, comic book themed t-shirt living in a basement somewhere doing, the Stranger Things stereotype.
That's what I do on the weekends. Like, that's just how I live my life.
You got sweatpants?
Well,
Yeah.
Man, that's the best way to live.
Well done.
Anyway,
Critical
Continue.
Role. Campaign 1, they called it, because they have aired multiple campaigns since the first one. It does follow the adventures of a group called Vox Machina. Before streaming, their group was called The Shits. they decided
Nice.
to change it. They're like, if we're streaming for a live audience, we probably should be a little bit more professional, and so changed it to
Ugh.
Bots
I would
Machina.
be remiss if I didn't call bullshit on the shits.
That is absolutely true. Like, they
Okay.
called themselves the shits.
I'm already disappointed that they changed themselves for their audience.
They did reference the shits a couple times. They're like, we're the group formerly known as the shits. So
Okay, that's good. At least they acknowledged it.
they
passed.
didn't
That's
forget
good.
their roots.
Well, as long as they weren't the drizzling shits, I imagine it's probably better.
That comes later.
Campaign 1 did end in October 2017 after 115 episodes. I just finished episode 75 of Campaign 1, so I'm not even all the way through it. This is a new thing for me, because even though I've been into D&D for many years, I knew of Critical Role, because you can't play D&D without knowing about Critical Role. It's just a thing.
It's part of the culture.
And I never watched it. Like, I knew all these voice actors. I liked them and the work that they did. I didn't ever sit down to watch it, and I finally did. So I'm trying to get caught up, because I immediately fell in love with these characters. And it's amazing how it happened. They gained a lot of fans in such a short amount of time. Within their first year of streaming, they were already doing live shows at Comic-Cons and separate events where they were selling tickets for people to come watch them play in the campaign, and they sold out. People just latched onto them, and it was crazy how it happened, because they started streaming in the middle of the storyline. So they'd already got this established for like the last 2 years, and then people got thrown into the middle of it. They eventually did like a really quick animation background of everything that had happened up until the point that they started streaming. But Matt's storytelling ability and all of their character work and the way they roleplay, it just sucks you in and you get really invested. I've cried so many times over this stupid fucking podcast and stream. It's bad. I'll be sitting there on the couch just bawling, and Jason's looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you right now? You're watching a show. I'm like, you don't understand. But
It's probably stuff that if you would visit yourself in the past and tell yourself that you'd be doing, you wouldn't believe it.
yeah, absolutely. But the fans are called critters, and unfortunately, like most big fandoms, there are some toxic fans. There's a lot of negativity.
Creepy critters.
Yes, creepy critters. The first thing most people will tell you is to not look at the Twitch chat for the live shows that they do. Apparently it's very toxic, and the people will make attacks towards the female members of the cast specifically. They actually did stop showing the chat panel in their stream about 30 or so episodes in, and I noticed it very late because I didn't watch the chat anyway. There's too much other things going on. I don't care about what people are saying in chat. I care about the story. But they did stop displaying it. The only way you can see the chat is if you are watching it live on Twitch and you have the chat panel open. But people just say stay away from it. It's terrible. It won't add anything to your experience, and it's just a cesspool of gross people. Oh, unfortunately, there is that. But on the flip side of it, the fans are pretty awesome. They will continually push out fan art, and they do it so fucking fast. Campaign 3 just started, and 5 days after the first episode aired, there was already fan art. There was already fully formed cosplays. These people just go and put it out in the world. It is
It's wild.
mind-blowing to me. I'm like, do you not have a job? How did you do this? Like, in 5 days? Not even a week. But they are dedicated, and they Critical Role has done a lot for charity. They actually do have their own charity now. It is a nonprofit called the Critical Role Foundation, and they support a local charity in LA, 826 LA, and 826 in general. They have places all over the country that you can support. So they've done a lot of work for them, and that's pretty cool. And the fans have helped with that. So there are good
Nice.
fans out there. They're not all assholes.
Awesome.
And so that was campaign 1, and it took off. I did mention before they had other campaigns. Campaign 2 followed the Mighty Nine. I'm actually wearing a Mighty Nine sweatshirt right now. Even though I haven't watched it.
Nice.
Jason got it for me for Christmas, and he's terrible at giving Christmas gifts, and he's like, I want you to have this now. And the theming of it is so great. On the tag in the back, it says, how do you want to wear this? And Matt's like tagline for when they kill a big bad is, how do you want to do this? And it says battle
Okay.
tested in Exandria on it. It's super cute. The packaging actually said it came from Gilmore's Glorious Goods, which is a shop that Vox Machina frequents
I like
in
when people
Campaign
do
1.
that shit.
So it's super cute. The theming is on point. That was Campaign 2, and that aired from January 2018 to June of 2021 after 141 episodes. There was a limited series called Exandria Unlimited, and that ran in between June 2021 and August 2021. So it was like a buffer in between campaigns. The Campaign 3 just started last month. They have yet to name that group. So I'm excited to see what they name it. I did watch episode 1 because I didn't want character spoilers, because it's all over TikTok. I wouldn't have been able to avoid it.
Fair.
But I did stop watching it because they did make reference to one of the characters from Campaign 1 in the very first episode. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not done with Campaign 1. I'm going to get spoilers for that in Campaign 2. So I watched long enough just to see what their characters look like and what they're about, what they're playing, and then I stopped. So I have that to look forward to.
Nice.
Nice.
I did mention earlier that they did start off with Geek and Sundry, which was Felicia Day's company that she started. They are now fully 100% independent and creator owned. They started their own media company, Critical Role. So they own all their own stuff, and
great.
they're in charge of their own creation, which is super cool because not a lot of people can say that in that industry. I did already mention their nonprofit foundation. They do also have a publishing company called Darrington Press.
And that's where Michael's books come from.
If they're new books, yes.
Oh, never mind. Those things are fucking ancient.
Yes, they are.
The publishing company is actually rather new, so. But their success has led to prequel comics and art books based on the campaigns that they've done and their characters. They have collaborated with Wizards of the Coast. They do have 2 campaign books out that you can run. One is called Critical Role Taldore Campaign Setting, and the other is Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. So they're not really homebrew anymore. They are canon. They do have source books. So
they started off as such big fans doing their homebrew stuff, and then just penetrated D&D.
Yes, they did.
There you go.
They have a 3rd one coming out early next year too. That one actually takes place in the continent of Marquette, which is where their current campaign is taking place. So I think that's going to tie into the current campaign in some way, shape, or form. They also have an upcoming animated series that got picked up by Prime Video, which does follow Campaign 1. It's called The Legend of Vox Machina. I'm hoping that there's going to be new stories that we didn't see while they streamed, and it expands on some of the characters' relationships and their backstories, so we'll see. I have my fingers crossed for that one. And that's Critical Role. Now, to what Courtney brought up earlier, Dungeons and Daddies, not a BDSM podcast.
Boo.
Pass.
Sometimes a BDSM podcast. It depends on the episode you're listening to.
Just when I thought I was out, you pulled me back in.
But they do say it in the intro of every episode, not a BDSM podcast, or sometimes a BDSM podcast. That podcast started in 2019 by Anthony Birch, Will Campos, Matt Arnold, Beth May. Beth May and Anthony Birch are both from Arizona. Fun
Bullshit.
I'm sorry.
fact. Not bullshit. And their other cast member is Freddie Wong. Season 1 just ended this year after 69 episodes. I have not finished.
Is that bullshit? Is it 69 episodes?
It's 69 episodes. They know what they did. They did it on purpose.
Hell yeah.
Did they introduce the Wong for the 69th episode, or was it around prior to that?
Freddie Wong has been around for all 69 episodes.
For a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Indeed.
And
His name sounds familiar. Was he a voice actor or something like that? Or
I think they all do some kind of acting. I think Freddie and Matt actually have a movie that they're doing.
Okay.
Last I heard. I didn't do a whole lot of research into that. It was mentioned on the fan pages. They had to stop one of their side podcasts because of it. But
fair enough.
it's not
Are
one
you
that
thinking
I listen to.
of Eddie Huang from Fresh Off the Boat, who's a famous chef? Maybe?
No.
Okay.
I don't know anything about chefs.
Cool.
We know.
I know Gordon Ramsay, and that's it.
Who's that?
He's the guy that yells at people.
I was thinking of B.D. Wong from Father of the Bride fame, but yeah, that's me.
But it is homebrewed. It is a homebrew campaign, and it is fantastic. It follows the story of 4 dads from our world that get flung into the Forgotten Realms on a quest to find and rescue their lost sons. And hilarity ensues from the very beginning. I have to talk about it. It's a spoiler. I'm sorry. But the very first roll of the game was to find out how dank a joint was, and Freddy rolled a natural 20.
Hell
It was
yeah.
fucking perfect.
There you go.
It's great. They were getting inspiration for telling dad jokes and using bad puns, but Anthony, the DM, got so tired of it, he's like, no, never mind. You're taking psychic damage for that one. So
Yes,
a dad would
thank
tell
you.
a joke, and then everybody else around would take psychic damage.
Kind of like frenzy damage in Bloodborne.
I like that. Also, one of my favorite moments, one of the dads, his name is Henry Oak. Upon coming into the Forgotten Realms, he actually becomes a druid, and he has condoms on his person for whatever reason, I can't remember, but he can't control his druid powers at first, and he's really freaked out by it. So he takes condoms, puts them on his hands like gloves, and wears them around for a while until he can figure out how to control poison spray. So he's just sitting there describing how he's walking with his condoms on his hand around the Forgotten Realms, like all freaked out about the shit coming out of his fingers.
Well, when you need protection, it's
I mean,
useful.
he's prepared. He's already got them.
Really?
Michael, you are swinging tonight, and I love it.
I'm swinging and missing. I'm swinging from the dugout. They're like, no, you need to go actually to the pit.
Yeah, soon you're going to be swinging from a rafter.
If only.
Send the bees.
But I won't talk about that one too much because it is a wonderful podcast, and if you have the time and you enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, you should give it a listen because it's also great storytelling. There are some heartfelt moments in there. I have also cried over Dungeons and Daddies, so give it a listen.
Haven't we all?
I was gonna say,
No, Daddy.
it's like that resonates.
I do have daddy issues. Unrelated. But anyway, they are considering a season 2 spinoff called Monsters and Mommies. We'll see how that goes.
Bullshit.
That is bullshit.
Oh!
They did actually record a mom-themed special where they were all moms playing D&D. I don't remember what the premise of that was. It was supposed to be a special for Patreon, but it just didn't go well. Nobody had a good time. It was just a bad recording, and they actually ended up scrapping it. So it has not been heard by anyone's ears.
And they're all misogynists, so, I mean, that tends to lend to
Yeah,
that.
that big oof energy there.
Indeed.
But D&D's popularity goes beyond just, the community of D&D and the content that we have available there by all those creators. It has been mentioned in other TV shows and movies. John brought up Stranger Things. I have not seen Stranger Things
Shane
myself.
actually brought up Stranger Things.
Was it? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we're interchangeable
Look ass.
people, you know.
White
It's
people,
like-
am I right?
Well, John said he
Yeah.
was going to play you later for our one shot, so...
I mean, we're both bland and easily forgettable, so I understand.
Isn't mayo spicy, guys?
I love you, Shane. Don't ever forget that, please.
Hack ass, never change.
I've only seen the first episode. That's all I could get through, but I saw enough to know that those kids like Dungeons and Dragons, and I've seen gifs and screenshots of the one kid that's always just like, can we play Dungeons and Dragons? I just want to play Dungeons and Dragons right now,
And
please,
you're like,
guys.
It's me.
I'm like, that kid is my spirit animal, and I would die for him. Love him. I don't need to see anything else in the show. I just know I love that kid. It was also featured on The Blind Spot. Ashley Johnson actually played a character on that show called Patterson, and she did this while campaign 1 was running, and so she had to leave the campaign. She'd guest every now and then, but she really missed it, so she would sneak in D&D references into the show whenever she could, and you can actually see her using a Critical Role coffee mug in some scenes.
Okay.
So she was trying to show love for her friends that she couldn't be with, and I thought it was super cute. Community actually had 2 separate D&D episodes, one of which has been removed from Netflix
That's
and Hulu,
what I had,
and I'm
yeah.
upset.
What?
Yep.
May
Why?
You may.
I? Because one of the characters, Chang.
Oh, is it the
he plays an
The-
orc, or no,
Dark elf.
a dark elf, and he goes
and he
and
dresses up as it.
but it's authentically like black as night paint.
Yeah,
like
'cause
almost
that's
blue,
what they look
blue
like.
black.
To almost go as an an elf or like an orc kind of thing. And then last year during quarantine, when we kind of had the mass like, hey, we shouldn't let blackface be a thing anymore, or like brownface or whatever, like we shouldn't be dressed or like painting our faces as other races. It's very offensive and cringy. Somehow that fell in the crosshairs. I don't necessarily think I agree with it in the context of the episode itself, but
Yeah, I don't either, but
it was one of the funny. It's actually my favorite episode of Community.
it's
I honestly
It's
thought it was
great.
going to be because they were playing that game to prevent. What was it the character's
That's
name?
the
is
Fat
Fat
Neil.
yeah,
Neil
it's the same
from-
episode.
it is.
Yeah,
From
because they were
Committing
playing that so
Die.
he wouldn't off himself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
he wouldn't go commit die. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was trying to
It's a
unalive
very sad
himself.
setup, but it turns into a very hilarious episode.
It's so funny. They were actually playing advanced D&D in that. What module? It's actually a made up one, so it's not a real module that they were playing, but they were playing in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons system. Abed does DM both sessions that they have, and he created characters for everybody, with the exception of Fat Neil, who had his own character because he loved Dungeons and Dragons and had been playing for a long time. One of the characters, my favorite character, was actually named Hector the Well Endowed, and he ended up being played by Annie Edison in both D&D episodes.
Oh, Hector.
Yes, Hector. I love him so.
I don't know. I liked Pierce's character riding in
Man.
naked on a dragon, but anyway,
Michael,
we
you
won't-
had the perfect setup for your joke, and you'd never had a better
You-
one.
You want to go ahead and take it for him?
No, I want Michael to live up to some promise here.
I never have and I never will.
Hector, I
Oh,
hardly
damn,
know
you
her.
Killed her.
Oh,
What? My God.
I quit. I'm done.
You're right.
Whoa,
I'm
Shane has
sorry.
signed out.
Oh gosh. Both Stranger Things and Rick and Morty had campaigns created for them in 2019, so there are modules that you can run if you really love Stranger Things or Rick and Morty and you want to merge that with Dungeons and Dragons, you absolutely can.
Okay.
So fun fact.
Was Rick and Morty? I figured
Who?
Stranger Things, but like they were adapted specifically for D&D.
Yes, there is a Stranger
Huh.
Things module that was released in May 2019, and then Rick and Morty was also released in 2019, a couple months later in September.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's I believe that module is called Rick and Morty versus D&D.
I thought it was the
course it is.
Smegmagorgon, but
There are 19 adventure modules for 5e actually. Will be 16 after Critical Role releases theirs in March next year.
And yes, Shane, yours can be one of them. All you have to do is pitch it.
no, to steal a phrase from John's distant past,
Oh, no.
not hungry, thanks.
Yeah, that's most of the fun stuff I have. I got into playing D&D in a weird way. The way I played was very sporadic.
The backseat of a Volkswagen?
That's an uncomfortable
No.
place.
Oh, that's how everyone starts their D&D adventures.
My college boyfriend invited me to play a session with his friends. And
He climbed out of a box in a full-length leather bodysuit, and I've never
No.
been the same.
I haven't been the same because of that relationship, but for other reasons.
Touche.
Oof.
At that would have been like 2010-ish, so we were probably playing 4th edition. I didn't ask questions. They made me a character. I had no idea what was going on. I thought it was fun, but that relationship ended terribly. It was not amicable. We are not friends, and
Fuck
so
you, guy.
I was
Yeah.
I was uninvited to play, and I was just like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, I had fun, but I'm not gonna cry about it. I didn't know anybody else that played or was interested in playing, so I was content that I would never play again. And then in 2019, when I started working with a bunch of IT nerds, lo and behold, they were playing Pathfinder, and they said, hey, like, do you want to come play with us? We have a character that you can try out. They ended up adopting an NPC from the city guard. They were running Curse of the Crimson Throne, and so they kidnapped this kid from his position with the city guard, and his name is Tom. And they're like, you know what, Tom, we're just going to give you all of our or extra armor and weapons, and he actually got some really decent stuff, and he started leveling with them. This character was fucking unstoppable. His weapon of choice was a long spear, and so he had super good range for a melee character, and did insane damage. At one point...
How big was his dick?
So he was the Jonah Falcon of D&D characters.
Yes, and
All
like
right.
nobody could roll for themselves, but when they were rolling for Tom, it was like just crit after crit, just
Was
natural
his last
20s all
name
day.
That's
Bombadil?
usually how it goes, yeah.
No,
That one-
Tom didn't have a last name.
Oh.
That
That was mainly for Shane, and he didn't hear it, I don't think. Or-
What? Sorry, I was talking over you.
Yeah.
What did you call him?
I said, was his last name Bombadil?
His first name was Hippa.
So I played one session with Tom, and I'm just like, this is great. Because the group that we had going was great too. They did some really insane shit. At one point, they set the boats in the bay that served as like the pirate black market area on fire, and one of the guys that we were playing with at the time, he's like, I want to backflip off of this burning boat, and our DM's like, roll for it. Then he rolls a natural 20, does the thing. They gambled their way into getting a pseudo dragon. There was a lot of fun times with that one. So after that one campaign, my DM worked with me to actually create a ranger druid hybrid. I had an animal companion, a badger named Newt, and I loved that imaginary badger so fucking much. I was scared to put him in combat situations. I did when I was forced. But most of the time he sat in my little backpack and I just carried around a badger. But that was the point where like I was hooked. I got very attached to the character.
You got it.
I
clicked.
liked it. Clicked. I liked playing. I'm like, I could do this all the time. And I actually tried during that same time period. Another person I worked with and his wife and a bunch of her friends wanted to play D&D as well. They were doing a 5e thing. They're like, you should play with us. So me not wanting to say no to Dungeons and Dragons, I'm like, absolutely, I will play in 2 sessions at once. I don't care. It was a group of all girls other than the DM. I quit the group after 3 sessions because I just didn't vibe, mostly because there was a girl that always ended up sitting right next to me that had no volume control. She could not talk in a normal voice and always ended up screaming in my ear. I'm like,
And now
nah.
you have tinnitus.
Listen, we know Sam.
Yeah,
It's
we
all
know
right.
who you're talking about.
It's all right.
Actually unrelated to Sam.
Bullshit.
Everything's related
It's
to
true.
Sam. Just
Yeah, I
let
feel
her
like
tell you.
I feel like we were really good
It all
about calling
comes
these
back.
lies early on, and then we just got swept up in the fantasy.
Yeah, there's
That's how it goes.
there's some that you missed. But we'll get into that later.
Not shocked.
So that's how I like really got into it. The Pathfinder campaign ended very abruptly due to scheduling conflicts. We had a large party. There were 8 of us in total, and trying to
Oh,
get 8 adults scheduling to line up to meet once a month
Huh.
is a fucking nightmare.
Imagine doing that with 5 adults once per week.
I feel
I
for
can't.
you.
I can't either.
But there were some people that were also super flaky and like would call out very last minute, not even like a few days before. And I guess it just really ruffled my DM's feathers. He's like, you know what? Last session, we're ending this, go. And I feel like we missed a lot of the story, and it was not.
How long does an average like campaign last?
Well, turns out that 75% of parties don't make it past session 10. So,
really?
mm-hmm.
Is that bullshit?
No,
I feel like that's too optimistic.
It's not.
Huh.
So,
And
I feel
how
like
long
most
is an
parties
average
don't make it past
session?
like episode 2.
Like not the one shot that you've alluded to that we're gonna do off air, but
the average session, depending on how your group and how long y'all are willing to sit there. For my party that I'm running with right now, we usually go 6 to 8 hours. We only
Holy
meet once
shit.
a month. But I know
Oh, okay.
I know people that do it weekly, and their sessions are only like 2 or 3 hours. So it really just depends on how often you're meeting and how much you want to get out of it. But yeah, I told you guys about my current character in my campaign. We're running Curse of Strahd. This would have been our 9th session. I really hope it does not spell the beginning of the end, because I
Right.
would love to finish this campaign. I'm really enjoying it.
Also, just to go ahead and plug your Instagram, you drew your character. Like
I
actually
did.
full-fledged drew your character. And if you go to her Instagram,
Yeah.
at Bad Artist Jessie.
Yep, at Bad Artist Jessie, you can see Nymphadora Tonks in all of her glory.
She's a short little bitch.
She is. She's tiny. But I also drew a set of dice for her, so you can see that in the picture as well. I want to find dice like what I drew, but I cannot find black dice anywhere.
Interesting.
Apparently it's a very popular color, and they're sold out. Like every
Like,
one that I like,
Every time
I'm like,
he drops, it's sold immediately.
yeah, I'm like, this set is beautiful. This would be perfect. Nope, sold out.
Well, part of the joy of the experience of playing this is that you really can kind of tailor everything to your own preferences, as you were
Yeah.
alluding to earlier. So you're not just mired in somebody else's concept. So particularly for you who has an artistic bent, I imagine it's a lot of fun because you can actually visually see a lot of the things that are happening and can actually draw characters for other individuals as well. And then there's throngs of folks who 3D print their own characters
Mhm.
and bring those in as functional pieces. So, I mean, like, it's exceedingly customizable, which is part of the joy of doing it, I imagine, if you're somebody who's kind of a self-starter.
Yes, I did paint a mini for my character. I painted my Hound of Ill Omen because I am a shadow sorcerer. I gained the ability to summon a hound as a bonus action, and basically it's a modified direwolf, and it will relentlessly attack whatever I want it to until either it or the target dies, or after 5 minutes, which is a long time in D&D combat if you
It
know how
is.
those mechanics work.
Man,
Also, you know why they're called
every round is 6 seconds,
Yes.
right? Something to that effect. So that's a long
My
time.
a turn is 6 seconds, so
Man,
I guess that's fair.
I had no idea that I was a D&D character for all of these years. I used to be able to just snap my fingers and, you know, a legion of goth girls would just show up and do my bidding. It was really a lot of fun.
Big titted goth girls don't just fall out of the sky, you know.
No, they don't. They emerge from a hot topic when you call their cell phone.
But yeah, that's all I had. I can go and talk about my character forever long until the night, but
Well,
I-
we have other things to
We
do
do have
that
other things
involve
to
around
do.
D&D, and also I feel like we did miss a fair share of the lies.
There
which
were
means
quite a few
Michael-
lies, yes.
Michael is fired.
Michael is
Yep.
fired.
Okay, so the one thing I will say is I know nothing about any
Anything?
podcasts
Anything in
or
general?
anything.
Hard stop, period.
You missed.
I
Not
know
even
things about
physics?
D&D, but I don't follow. I only recently learned about critical die, or critical
I'll
role,
help
whatever.
you critical die.
Same.
Trust me.
Same.
Honestly, YouTube started telling me that they had a third season, and I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck this
What?
is.
I don't even know what a
Um,
YouTube is.
The only thing the closest thing I ever had to partaking in the D&D culture would be watching Felicia Day's The Guild when it aired years upon years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I never followed any podcasts. I never watched any YouTube channels. I liked doing my own stories. I never liked following other people's, which is weird.
No, that's not.
Because
Because,
yeah.
there are many of us who have that proprietary sort of feel. I understand.
Yeah. So when you started talking not about D&D itself and about people that play D&D, I was like, I'm not going to know anything.
No,
about
I
that.
had that exact same response because, again, the wrong kid died sort of scenario. My brother plays D&D with his children
cute.
and has a lot of very fun and sordid sagas. Not sordid, but for me.
Because you have to hear about it.
I sure hope.
That's why I'm not the dungeon master. But so he is very enthusiastic about it, and I get the same Krispy Kreme thing that happens once he starts detailing things. So I totally understand, Michael.
Does anyone want to take a stab at what they think the lies were?
Oh, I tried.
No.
Yeah, if you just want to go through the top of the list down, even the ones that we got, just as like a summary. then
Yeah.
I think we're good because there's so much.
I
so much.
fudged on the creators' names. It was Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. I lied about the publishing date. It was published in 1974. I said 1973.
Ow.
I also
Those
lied.
those are my kind of lies.
I lied about how many dice are in a standard set of dice, and Michael should have known this. I said,
Wait,
Yeah, you
you
little
said a
bitch.
D4, a D6, a D8, a D10, a D12, and a D20, right?
Uh huh. That's 6. You missed one.
Okay, I guess there. I thought you were going to say. Are you talking about the D100?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the multiples of 10
The
one?
percentile die, yes.
Oh, okay. I always consider that just a D10.
No, it's
So that
different.
was my inadequacies as
There's
a person.
metaphor for your education somewhere.
Arizona education at its finest, right there. I'll tell you what.
Tell you what.
You guys did catch the lie about the 12 to 15 million players. Shane was in the right area. I said worldwide, it was North America. And then I started lying about Critical Role, so you may have not gotten this. The one shot was actually arranged for Liam O'Brien's birthday, not Ashley Johnson's.
Okay.
He was very adamant about wanting to play D&D with everybody, got everyone together, and for his birthday, which him and Laura Bailey actually share a birthday. But it was for his birthday specifically. Fuck you, Laura. No, I love her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw in my my usual "that thing you do" reference. She's talking gibberish.
The other critical role lie was about Orion. He did leave the show after 27 episodes, but both him and Critical Role, the official statement was it was to start his own project and Twitch channel. He didn't have the time for both. Everything I said...
So he wasn't offensive and a piece of shit?
Oh, no, he was. Everything I said was fan speculation. He didn't actually have a fight with Marisha Ray. But the behaviors that I described were what people were getting from the stream. It was very awkward and kind of toxic, and he did retcon, he did hog time, wasn't a team player, but that's all fan speculation as to why he left.
I was going to say, I would have been fired from this podcast a long time ago if that were actually held up in a court of law.
The official reason was he started his own projects and didn't have time for both. And then you did also catch the Monsters and Mommies lie.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, that was fun.
I got more lies than Michael. Is that what you were pointing out there?
Yes, you did.
Well,
Interesting.
Looks like you know more about D&D than I do.
And I barely woke up today. So,
I mean, same.
More than me. I mean, you heard my bits. They sounded like I was half asleep.
I'm only 97 years old, so I mean, I'm just amazed that I can even move at this point.
Oh, with enough Viagra, anything's possible.
Well, if you roll a d20 for me, I might be able to, get it up.
Crit success.
I have one. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, please.
Hit the crit.
That would be a 6.
Ooh.
It's
Man, I haven't got one of those in ages.
Like, not really doing anything.
Welcome to the club.
Well, thanks for coming back for a second week in a row.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I really wanted to talk about D&D. I got very excited, and thank you for letting me nerd out on you guys.
Of course.
It is appreciated. We can do nothing if not share. This was kind of the origin of the show, was to talk about things that we had an actual empirical knowledge of and were really enthusiastic about, and we've gotten away from that fairly recently, but so it's nice to bring back and imbue some of that natural ardor into the show again, so thank you, because I haven't seen Michael this excited since they issued that fall line from JCPenney's kids department.
Wait a
I feel
minute.
like that's a lie, because last week when we were talking about Superman, he was ecstatic. He had the dumbest smile on his face the
No,
whole
that's
day.
just
not
his-
because I knew
That's called
anything.
arousal.
No.
That's different.
Yeah, that's his
yeah,
bromance with me, and I can't help that I
I
have that effect on people.
Yeah, I know nothing about Superman other than his son is now considered or is bisexual. And that's
No,
all I know
everything
about
that
him.
Michael knows about Superman, he learned from a 5 for Fighting song. So it's
Oh
good.
my god.
I've never heard.
Such
I've never
a
listened.
You
good.
have.
You have.
Have I?
Shane, that
Okay.
was an amazing pull. I'm usually not the guy that does this, but I think there's going to be an After Dark if y'all are still down, right?
Sure enough.
I mean, I sure hope there is.
So,
We talked about it.
Before we get out of here and I stop doing the thing that I'm not supposed to do this late in the episode, Jesse, real quick, can you tell them what they can see on the After Dark coming up?
Yeah, so on the After Dark on Wednesday, you can see the gang here play Sexy Battle Wizard with yours truly, Bad Gamer Jesse, as the DM.
And you don't want to know what I'm using for my staff.
Side note, this is my first time DMing ever, so this could be good or this could be bad. We're about to find out.
We will find out.
Either way, it'll be hilarious.
So,
DM for DP.
DNDDP.
Oh yeah.
Bad damage. Well, it's too crit to quit, I guess.
If
That's
the crit don't fit, then you must quit.
Hey, you critically you crit success that transition there.
Yeah, good job,
segue.
bub. Well done. Sure proud of you. Just keep talking.
You're the only one.
Well, in the glorious words of Stephen Lynch, it's D&D! Ah! So we're going to launch off into our glorious After Dark here, but thank you all for being here for another stirring installment of Disinformed. We sincerely appreciate it as always. There is a link in the show notes to our wonderful collection of socials and all the other nonsense that we do. It's called a link tree. My brain just wasn't going to it because Michael has beaten me into submission. But eventually I'm going to get there. And always, Jesse's going to have a list of all of her sources for the show notes down there as well. So if you want to investigate further, that is the means to do so. And of course, you can find us over for the After Dark on the Tubes of You, 10 a.m. Mountain Time on Wednesday. So hopefully that'll be fun for everybody. But for Disinformed this week, I'm Shane.
I'm John.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
And I'm Jesse.
And zippity zoop, we're out of here.
That could have been a lot more enthusiastic.
Do you want me to do it again?
And zippity zoop,
And zippity zoop, we're out of here.